Well, I mean, there's probably dumb plans going on. Like, we probably got the rope back out.
Yeah.
So, you guys are trying to Rube Goldberg away through this woods. You start hearing one of the giants, one of these creatures. You start hearing voices around you in the trees, calling out the name Zook. Zook.
Pull up my own bow.
Well, that's ominous.
Does it sound like aggressive like the other gnome, like the other creatures, or does it sound like one who's like legitimately looking for me, like, hey Zook?
Does it sound like me?
No, it sounds like a giant. It sounds like a giant
Okay.
is speaking your given name in Gnomish. But
Does
you're
it
hearing
sound
it many
exactly
times.
the same each time?
Yes, it
Khalil
does.
readies an arrow.
Probably those stupid birds again.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, probably one shouted it, but then the birds picked it up.
So Khalil knocks an arrow. What does everybody else do?
Size and exasperation because of the stupid ass birds.
I mean, Zook would keep his perception up. He would, be looking around, but I think I'm not making an attempt to be stealthy at this point, because if one comes out, then maybe we can figure out a way to get to Tarin. So
You want
looking
to
for
try
me-
to tongues a bird and talk to the birds?
if we can find one of the birds.
Yeah, we
Tongue a
gotta.
bird.
You want to tongue a bird? Yeah, because they may know their way around this fucking forest.
As soon as Khalil knocks an arrow, the voices cease.
How long does comprehend languages last? It might be worth waiting here for 10 minutes and just putting that up. Last for any reasonable amount of time.
How close did the voices sound? I mean, was it all echoey, or did it sound like they were pretty close when they said that?
Sounds like it was being shouted, so it could be as far away as a couple hundred feet.
I say to Eldove, do we want to respond?
It's gonna repeat it. And we could get them making explosions again. That might be fun, but
We could maybe we could
do
try to
have-
relay a message.
I do have.
If
that's actually not a terrible idea.
If they echo through the forest, if I send something out in Gnomish, maybe it'll reach these people, or even Tarin.
Yeah, why don't we send a message out like as loud as a lion can roar? That's just like, Tarin, send us a message back.
Yeah.
25 words or less.
So you shout out, Tarin, send us a message back, 25 words or
25
less,
words
as loud
or
as a
less.
lion can roar.
How long of a can we actually send a message with minor illusion?
Not outside of
We
its
can-
range
We
now.
can make the noise as
That's
loud
what
as
I'm
a lion
saying.
can
How
roar.
long? How long can it be?
Oh, it can, as long as you want, man.
Yeah.
It's just a minor illusion. Just make a
Yes.
noise.
So we minor illusion that message at basically as loud as a lion can roar. Tarin, send us a message, 25 words or less.
Who all is brandishing weapons? Just Khalil?
I mean, Zook has his bow at his back, but he can draw it pretty damn quick.
But
Orphan sort
who
of
has
is
it out
weapons.
right now? I mean, Orphan doesn't count because her weapons are attached to her. But Khalil said he
I
knocked an
have a
arrow.
I mean, I don't think I would have put my weapon away.
So you're still, but are you holding it at the ready like Khalil is?
Like, am I poised to strike something?
Picture you using the blunt end as a walking stick almost as we're going through the
that's
woods.
sort of what I'm
No,
going
man,
with.
the blunt end is the business end of that glaive. What are you
Yeah, I
talking
know,
about?
right?
But no, Zook does not have a weapon in his hand. He does his rapier at his side and his bow on his back when he's just walking.
So Eldove is casting comprehend languages. He's going to start performing the ritual.
No, comprehend languages, I looked at it, and all it'll do is understand the literal meaning of any heard language.
Okay.
So if I hear the Aarakocra talking, it's not going to be like tongues. I'm just going to understand that they're saying fucking nonsense.
Oh, yeah,
It's not
that's
gonna do me
actually
any good.
correct.
Yeah.
So I send out this minor illusion, trying to hopefully relay a message to Tarin. But other than that, no, I don't draw a weapon or anything at that.
Okay. And how long do you guys stand there waiting for a response? In minutes, how long?
Well, I mean, probably just keep walking through the forest doing our last bumblefuck plan.
After about 6 minutes, You hear the voice again. This side is not. This time is not coming from a circle all the way around you. It's only coming off from a couple spots, somewhere slightly ahead of you and somewhere off to your right. You hear, "Place the weapons on the ground," and that's repeated 3 or 4 times.
Orphan just puts up her hands.
Orphan like buries her fists down in the soil.
I am a weapon. Well, I mean, shit, Eldove is a weapon too, basically.
I don't want to disarm.
Eldove doesn't have anything, and he would thank you for not saying anything.
Zook will put down his bow and his rapier that's visible. He has daggers that are hidden under his cloak at all times.
Well,
But he puts down
Eldove,
his...
you're using your... Does that Pearl of Power count as a spell focus?
Maybe?
You gotta have something in your hands for material component spells.
Yeah, that's my ring.
Your ring, okay. Yeah,
Khalil
they wouldn't know
will
you're using a
reluctantly
ring.
drop his sword and bow.
So, Khalil is the first to put the weapons on the ground.
No, Zook said that he'd put his bow and his rapier on the ground as he would say, "Do you have Tarin?"
What is Arik doing? Just moaning like a Bob's Burgers character. Just
I put my glaive on the ground.
You need a more of a small armory like the rest of
I
us.
don't need my glaive, man.
Yeah, I'll do that.
about 30 seconds passed after Arik very reluctantly sets his glaive on the ground.
Can I? Never mind.
Does he
Alright.
respond when I ask him, do you have Tarin? Is he safe?
No, you don't get a response.
Okay.
But
How do we know
should
that
not
this isn't
move.
just one of those birds talking back to us?
I want
And
to.
they have no idea where we are, and we have no idea where they are.
That
Are you saying that out loud?
Yeah. I'm saying that to the others.
Duke just kind of shrugs, like, eh. Does anything happen? Does someone come
This
out
forest
of the woods?
is ridiculous.
Yes, something does happen.
Okay.
You
Preposterous.
hear a whistling sound, like a bird song, from behind a tree, some 20 feet ahead of you. Then a minute after that, you hear the voices again from behind the tree line somewhere. Not behind the tree line. You're all behind the tree line. I'm looking at this friggin' clearing and thinking you're all standing in a clearing. You're not.
No, we're in the deep woods right now.
You hear the voice say, "Send the wizard to that tree." And then that voice gets repeated a couple times. This time it's coming from off to your left.
And then here comes the smartass comment from Nodal saying, "Well, good thing I'm not a wizard now, huh?" No, nothing? Wow.
I mean,
Sorry, I
you
laughed,
went and-
but I was muted.
You went and ruined it for me.
There goes McDohl, always stepping on people.
What does Eldove do?
Oh, it's just stepping on me.
Oh, don't you mean blah, 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 blah. Okay, no. But focus.
What did he say?
He said,
Yeah,
"Send the
we
wizard
go
to
a
that
by
tree."
yourself.
You heard
What
a
tree?
bird song behind a particular tree, about 20 or 30 feet ahead of you. And then a few seconds later, you hear some of the voices from the woods off to your left say, "Send the wizard to that tree."
Does this still sound like those giant voices?
Oh yeah, and it sounds like it's speaking common, but very heavily accented Gnomish.
How far away is the tree?
About 20 or 30 feet. I mean, you could get there and turn around and see the rest of the group.
I'm going to summon my owl out of sight in the canopy
Okay.
and have it look behind the tree with its action while I walk towards the tree.
Have your owl make a perception check.
All right. Wow. Not great. 11.
I don't think that's good
Oh, wait,
enough.
no, 12.
No,
12
that's-
is the number.
So yeah, you send your owl back around the tree. And, I mean, the brush is very dense, but it doesn't look like there's anything there. How many senses do you get from your owl at each time?
If I'm talking, like, right now I'm not looking through its eyes, so I don't
Mhm.
get any senses. I just get telepathic messages. Like, it's telling me, brother, I don't see anything.
Okay, yeah, he's like, bro, he ain't nothing behind his tree. That's how
Yeah.
your owl sounds, I decided.
Nice.
Although, given the amount of, like, horrible death that I sent this owl into that he hasn't seen, what he's actually probably saying is, I don't see anything. Like, he is self-doubting.
Hey, he's like, looks all clear.
Yeah. I'll say, alright, owl, and I'll head behind the tree.
You walk over to the tree, and you realize as you're standing next to the tree, you go deaf. You can't hear
And
anything else
I-
anymore.
Silence area.
The sounds of the forest around you cease as when you're standing next to this tree.
At what point did I go deaf?
Within, I think, maybe 5 or 7 feet of the tree, probably.
I'm gonna start playing with it. I'm just gonna start walking back and forth out of the line of thing.
Oh,
and I'm
sure
gonna
that's
say, I'm gonna step out of the deafness, and I'm gonna say, hey guys, they're using the magical deafness again.
But do you stand next to the tree? Or are you walking outside of the radius of it?
I walk outside of the radius of it, I say that to everyone, and then I walk back next to the tree.
If your owl goes outside of the radius, can you hear through him?
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
That's an interesting
Cool.
question.
Oh, well, unless the deafness is also encompassing my owl.
If
I'm
your owl's
saying.
next to the tree, it is, yes.
Did he, well, I mean, I noticed, so I'm gonna send the owl away from the tree.
Where do you send the owl?
Until it's not deaf anymore.
I mean, what direction? Towards the companions, away from them, up, down,
Oh.
left, right,
Towards my companions.
clockwise, towards them?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the canopy, bouncing along the ground,
In the canopy.
in the canopy. Okay. But can you hear through your owl? The way you can see
If
through it?
if I am at that moment, and since right now I don't see anything and I don't hear anything, I'm going to do so.
Okay.
And I'm just going to look at myself, just so... It's a little disorienting, but I've done it before.
And what does Eldove do next to this tree now that he's standing there?
Just sits down.
Sits down on the ground? Another minute or two passes, and everybody except, well, Eldove through the owl hears. This time encompassing area behind the way you were traveling around to your right. This time the voice says, everyone take 2 paces back from your weapons.
Again, Orphan looks very confused.
Eric
Khalil
makes that
take 2
noise
steps.
again.
Khalil takes 2 steps back. They got us dead to rights.
Orphan obligingly takes 2 steps back from nothing.
I sigh heavily, and I take 2 steps back.
Duke takes 2 steps backwards and again says in Gnomish, do you just want us to stand around and dance, or are you going to tell us where Tarin is?
After everybody moves back, a couple more seconds pass. Zook does not get a reply. But you see, up ahead of you, in the area where Eldove went, 2 of the bird creatures emerge. One on maybe 30 or 40 feet either side of Eldove. They start emerging from the trees and walking towards your weapons. And you see 2 more, a little bit closer, emerge as well. And they take up a guard around them. They're holding... What were they equipped with? I know this. Don't tell me. Nobody tell me. Short swords or short bows? They all have short swords at their sides. They have a bow and a quiver strung along their back, but they're not armed. They take up guard between you and the weapons. And after that happens, off to your right, one of the giants emerges. Same description applies, about 9 feet tall, covered in rags, except this one, again, wearing white rags. White-ish, off-white. Mother of pearl, we'll say. A mismatch of rags still, like all different kinds of clothing's draped over its form, and all different shades of white, in as much as white can have a shade. And he steps forward very cautiously, keeping his eye on Eldove primarily, but glancing back at the rest of you. And he's walking towards your pile of weapons. Now's the time for sudden movement. Do we have to roll initiative?
Did he look cautious as he's approaching his weapons?
He's approaching cautiously. He's not darting forward. He's not moving casually. He's watching Eldove and you guys in turn.
But he's not wielding the clubs that we've seen these other ones carry.
No, he's got a staff.
Got his staff.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He's walking with a staff, like a Gandalf-looking staff.
My arms are crossed and staring downward angrily, almost like I'm pouting.
Duke says to him in Gnomish, "You're not like the others. Are you here to take us to Tarin?"
He kneels down next to the pile of weapons and begins to inspect them. And he speaks as he does so. He says, Captain Tarin is held hostage. What they really want is Zook.
I've heard.
And so will you come and stand trial?
I've done nothing wrong. This is my first time in these woods.
Says, I have no doubt. But will you come peacefully?
If your people wanted to speak with me, they should have come and spoken to me rather than try to throw a net over me in the middle of the night.
He says, I agree, and yet here we are.
Agree. Well, okay. And then perhaps we have something we can talk about.
Eldove, are you still at the tree?
Yeah, I'm still sitting at the tree, and I'm not watching this guy. I'm watching myself because I currently can't hear or see for myself.
Oh, okay, I thought you were hearing through the owl.
I am.
But he's watching.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you've got the owl turned around watching you.
Him.
Yeah, I've had the owl watching myself.
You need to roll a wisdom save, because I'm going to count that as the hypnotic pattern for you, because Eldove is such a narcissist.
Alright.
Like, we need to find out if you become entranced by your own visage.
He's gonna roll it. If you don't tell him not to, he's gonna roll it.
I know.
Alright.
We're gonna let this farce play out.
I'm very pretty.
I hope he fails.
Oh my god,
20,
Eldove.
baby, I'm used to that sight.
You're way uglier than you remember. You look at yourself and you look so old. And you hate it.
I have experience at looking at myself.
Anyhow.
I'm sorry. That was a diversion we didn't need, probably. My bad.
No, yeah, probably not.
Oh, I did forget to ask at the beginning of the session, is anybody bailing on me?
Wasn't
I
planning on it.
sent you a message.
I know you sent me a message, but I forgot to ask
Okay.
everybody else.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, I'm good.
Zook says, the last one of your people we spoke to demanded that I be bound and dragged in front of him and separated from my group, and that's frankly not going to work for me. But I would be willing to come and speak to your people.
He looks at you when you say that you've spoken to another one of the giants. Says, what did you do with this? What did you do with this individual? Where is he now?
When we spoke to, we left, as we told him we would.
Alive?
As far as I know.
Unharmed?
He was alive when we left him, unbound.
That bodes very well for you. And he's starting to root through the pile of weapons and examine them more closely.
What are you looking for?
At this point, he's reached down and he's picked up the longsword from the Sanguine Serpents, the one that Khalil took. And he just seems to be examining the make of it. And before long, he sets it down. And then he sees the bow. Zook's bow that he set down. And he picks it up and looks at it. And he shakes his head and says, no, this is no good. And he looks back at Zook and says, you can't bring this with you. Nor any of your companions. Says none of them must see it.
They can't see my bow, specifically?
Says it will go badly for you if they do.
What is it about my bow that would be in trouble?
He throws it at you. Lands at your feet, about 5 feet away from you. Says, I would do well to bury that. Make a marker, we'll come back for it later.
Yeah,
And
make
Orphan
a marker.
says,
We'll come back for it.
We've had a lot of trouble coming back to anything in this forest.
Says you won't with my aid.
Mhm.
He says, you all walk through a very precarious situation, as do I. But I believe we can be to the benefit of each other. We're almost through it. Do as I say.
You're going against the will of your people?
He says, it's more complicated than that, but if it will help move things along, yes. He says, I've spoken with Tarin. He told me to give you all a message. He stands up. He says, he tells you, I forget the exact wording, 25 words or less, but he describes to you the stone coffin that you all put back in the hold of your ship after slaying the Banshee.
Khalil looks at, like, Eldove and Zook, and he's like, you did what?
Eldove says next to Khalil, because I can absolutely do this, by the way. I barely even remember that we found a coffin.
Wait, how are you doing that?
Not minor illusion, which does not have a verbal component.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You don't remember doing that? Zook remembers because he almost died in that combat.
Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. That was a year ago. We probably should have done something about that.
So is there like no look of recognition about this whole Banshee stone coffin situation?
Duke would kind of have like a, oh yeah, kind of look.
Eldove says to Zook, I don't know, it seems like something Tarin would care about.
It seems like something. Did he happen to mention an onion?
Yeah, did he bring up the onion?
He says he has no knowledge of this onion.
So
it might not be Tarin then.
The Tarin is alive and well, and you intend to keep him that way.
He says, in truth, so does the rest of the tribe, providing they can trade him for you.
Trade. See, I don't know if I like the idea of the word trade. I don't want to. I need to come out of this whole ordeal alive.
He says, if you bury that bow so that no one else can find it, you will.
Really like this bow. And as much as I want to get out of this alive, but I also really want to get back to this bow. So...
He tells you, make a marker.
Okay. Alright.
Which is more important, the bow or Tarin?
The bow.
No judgment.
You know what? We are flush with cash. I got somebody make me this bow. I'll get someone to make me another one.
Yeah, who made you that bow?
Someone in Kiska. It was Kiskin made.
You bought it at auction, as I recall.
Yeah, I had to roll, and it was like 6 days to find it, and then cost me 900 gold or something. But we can get another one of these.
Oh, you know what? I actually made a slight error. He says the same thing about the glaive. He throws the glaive over as well. Says this too must be buried.
Not like you ever actually hit anything with that
I was about to
glaive.
say, Orphan pats Arik on the shoulder and say, it's alright, you'll be fine without it.
Damn.
And
Everybody can make a whiz 10 right now.
Okay.
Do you all actually have any intention of burying these weapons?
Yes.
Aw.
Kinda.
I passed by a
Khalil,
lot.
Khalil,
yeah.
that 20's that.
Passed.
I completely demolished this wisdom check.
I passed
Got
by
11.
5.
Eric's glaive and Zook's bow are the only two weapons in the
And one
pile.
was made of silver.
No, that were of elven craftsmanship. The other weapons
My
are
plus-
not.
My +1 rapier isn't? I can't remember where the hell I even got that.
You bought that thinking you could enchant it, and then it took you a few adventures to actually find the formula to enchant it with.
Bow I bought at auction, so it was
The bow you bought at auction
Okay.
was a sand elf bow, and the glaive you all took from the gnolls that had raided the sand elf merchants.
Yeah, I remember
Gotcha.
that now.
All right. I'm gonna bury this glaive, but as Osprey is my witness, if I don't get this back, I'm gonna be really mad.
Yeah, Osprey
You
cares
remember
a
when
lot about some desert-made weapon. It's gonna burn Ostrom's tits. Watch.
Yeah.
Orphan doesn't understand why people are
I'm
so
just saying.
attached to their possessions.
Okay, first of all, Brick, as someone who's been hanging out with the Priest of Osprey, it's dry out Osprey's tits.
Right. My bad.
Anywho, yes.
Here's what's gonna happen. Khalil is gonna etch in the crude symbol of a Flumph into a nearby rock and says, "Have at it."
He's not gonna help him dig. What a jerk.
I know.
Orphan will help them dig magically.
Yes,
With-
punch ground.
I grumble the whole time.
With their
as I
elemental
dig.
attunement.
Eldove
sort
will
of
say
muttering
to
to
the
myself.
person, it's like, so wait, do you guys have a problem with elves? Because I've got these elvish dice. Like, are you gonna cut my throat for having too many sixes, or...
How is Eldove asking him this? He's standing in a radius of silence.
I'm asking him in with minor illusion, and I'm holding out dice.
He turns and faces you. Says, "Do you make mock, wizard?"
No, I seriously want to know about these elvish dice.
You're holding out the dice?
Yeah.
He says, "Throw them here."
Awesome, the dice.
They land on the ground. He scoops them up with his hand and looks at them. Then he tosses them back. He shakes his head and says, "They're of no importance."
No, thanks.
Looking to make sure I don't have anything
Weapon.
else of Elvish.
Jeez,
to
everyone
forge
thinks
there.
Eldove is taking the piss when he's not taking the piss.
Hey, he's the asshole who cried wolf one too many times.
Yeah.
But when he's actually taking the piss, everyone's fine with it.
While Eldove's throwing dice around, we've dug a hole.
Okay.
Bear my weapon.
Oh, when he throws the
Glaive,
dice back to me, what do they
throw
land
in
on?
ditch.
What does it land on? Roll 2d6 and find out. So you place the
What's
glaive
wrong?
and the bow in the hole, covered up, next to the rock that Khalil has marked.
Also, I'm
What's
hoping,
wrong with elvish weapons? I ask him.
4 and a
Yeah,
3.
what's wrong with elves? 7.
7.
That's gonna be really important later.
So who
Yeah, write
asked?
that down.
Who asked
Write
what's
that
wrong
down.
with
Write that
elves?
down.
Was that I forget? Was that Arik or Eldove that asked that?
Yeah, the guy burying his weapon,
Arik asked that.
his only weapon right now.
He says the Moon Mug have great reverence for elves, but don't understand the subtle differences between them. He says elves haven't
What
lived
about
in this
half
wood
elves?
for many centuries. Says, but if they see you walk into the tribunal carrying weapons of this particular make, they will believe you have stolen them, which they consider to be a great crime.
How do they
Stole
feel
it
about
from-
half elves?
Shakes his head and says they consider them humans, as do I.
Ah,
This is the most offensive thing. That
nobody
Eldove
in this
his
party
life.
has. I've been set on fire, and I found that less.
Actually,
offensive.
Eldove can't hear the responses from this guy, so...
Oh, that's right.
No, he's got his owl out. He can.
I've got my
God
elf.
damn, I hate
Listen,
Eldove. I
you have
can
no idea how bullshit Eldove is.
He is so bullshit. Level 8 bullshit
Brickroad,
elf.
Brickroad, I realize you don't have your webcam on, but just do the smirk that you think I made when I found out that minor illusion wasn't verbal.
Right. I actually knew that it wasn't. Last session I made use of that.
So
Stole
Eric,
weapon
you can
from elf.
Eric, you can use your.
I stole
you're-
from some gnomes. And stole
Oh,
from other elves.
Eric.
Yes.
You're very familiar with what your glaive looks like. Hopefully, we can find this again using your abilities. If we can get close to it with this guy's help. Not to mention we marked a rock.
So what was it?
No, the spell hasn't worked so far.
It worked when you were close to the thing. You found me with it.
The giant reaches back around and takes what looks like a large white cape draped over his shoulder and takes it off of his body, lays it on the ground, and starts piling the weapons up into it. Folds the cape up so he has a bundle, ties it off, and picks it up under one of his arms.
Wait, does he
Are
have a
these-
bundle or a bindle?
These are the ones we didn't bury.
These are the ones you didn't bury. These are
Okay.
the rest of your weapons.
Oh, the rest of the weapons we put on the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
Says, how many among you are spellcasters besides the wizard?
Orphan kind of puts a hand halfway up and then goes down and picks it up a little bit.
Not really sure.
Well, I mean, she would have demonstrated it with her earthbending, like that.
That's
is-
true.
That's true. Yeah.
Duke says, "I only know one trick. It's only really good for parties." And he makes a puppy appear at his feet.
Says, yes,
my-
summon puppy, everybody's favorite spell.
This is why Zook's my favorite.
You're forcing me to bury my weapon, and now you're going to take my magic away from me, aren't you?
Says, like,
And then he's
You
gonna
guys
kill
are
the
pissing
puppy.
off Osprey. I just want to say that. She's not going to like this one bit.
says, I don't know who Osprey is, but I caution you that the use of magic when you walk among the moon mug will be taken as a sign of aggression.
Yeah.
Duke dismisses his puppy and says, "I'll be good, I promise."
And he looks back over.
Just wait till my god sees wind of this. She not gonna be happy.
He looks back
That's called
over at
Big
Eldove.
Mama.
He holds his hand up, dismisses the silence spell,
Oh, thank
and then he repeats what he just said about magic being taken as an act of aggression, so that you hear it.
magic.
He says, "Well, when we arrive, they're going to expect us to turn Zook over to a couple of Moonmug guards. In exchange, they will return Captain Tarin to you." This is at that
What happens
time.
after that?
What happens to me?
This is in a day's time after that. The tribunal will commence.
Okay, where do we get to the part where I get out of this tribunal alive?
I don't know how I feel about this plan.
Yeah, I'll mention to the giant that when we spoke to another one of his tribe, he mentioned that it would be a trial and execution, like it had already been decided.
He nods and he says, "I expect they believe it shall be. But I have a way to intervene."
Is there anything we need to do to help you, or
He says, "You will each be asked to speak on behalf of Zook, to answer for his crimes that he's committed. So if we can drag the tribunal out, if we can make it last a couple of days, that would be to our benefit."
Well, on one hand, I could get executed. On the other hand, my friends have to talk good about me for a couple days. So, what the hell?
Yeah, I'm gonna need to know what your plan is before we hand Zook over to you.
Understand that I'm apprehensive to say.
Zook is going to. God damn it. And I'm taken into custody. What should I expect?
A cage, hard bread, rotten meat.
Stripped of my remaining belongings? Will I be searched? How is that going to go down?
He says, "You'll be stripped of your belongings, placed in the cage. Are you thinking of swallowing a weapon so to retrieve it later?"
Well, I'm more along the lines of what of my tools would be considered poor form to walk in there with.
He says, "Nothing, admittedly."
I gave you my primary weapons, but I of course have various ball knives and potions and whatnot on me.
Then he sets the bundle down on the ground, opens it up, and says, "I suggest you empty yourself of such things."
So 2 hours later,
So Zook produces. It's like one of those cartoons where like the guy opens up his coat and just like a mace falls out. No, it's so he
Single lockpick.
He puts his daggers into the bundle. He hands the necklace of fireball over to Deal.
And the giant says, "If you have any valuables you wish not to lose, I would hand them to your companions."
Oh, well, then I hand my daggers and my necklace of fireball to Khalil.
Oh, you're
Okay.
trusting Khalil with that? Okay. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about you giving the necklace of fireballs to Khalil.
No, you know what? I give him.
I hear he's evil.
I give him to the priest.
wow.
Okay, so now Eric's holding
you
all
guys
of Zook's
are
shit.
fucking assholes.
Hey, you're the one who rolled an evil character.
Khalil really has done nothing to convince you of that. In fact, the only person who's really been aware of that is the dude who listened to the other dude who was like, "My magic hammer tells me that Khalil is evil."
Dude, we've been talking behind your back about you being evil for like the last 3 weeks.
In all
Yeah.
fairness, it's mostly because the priest just had to give up his only weapon.
Okay. So now Eric has this necklace of fireballs.
I also have two
Cool.
regular daggers and 2 silver daggers.
So what are you keeping
Continue.
on your person?
Basically, let me just say out of character, I don't want to keep anything on me that these guys are going to construe as a threat.
You don't know what they'll construe as a threat and what they won't. As far
I
as Zook
give-
knows, right now they consider weapons and magic to be a threat.
All right. Well, basically, I'm going to have
Oh god, his tiny
Tell you
gnome
what,
dick.
Zook, go ahead and make a section on your inventory and fill that with the items that you're giving away to other party members, so I know what you still have on you when you get to the tribunal.
Well, I'm just gonna give everything that's on. I'm gonna put everything in my pack and
Okay.
give everything to him. So the only thing I'll have on me is my armor and my cloak.
Okay.
And I keep a there's
Yeah.
a lockpick in
Sick
there.
lockpick.
Now, who do you hand the pack to?
I give it all to the priest.
So Arik is loaded down with all Zook's stuff. Okay. At this point, the giant has stood back up with the bundle, and the bird creatures have formed up around him. Several more have joined the party since. So the preparation's complete.
Sure.
And he nods and he bids you to follow him, and he starts walking off through the woods.
I don't like this at all.
I have crossed my arms and sort of hiding my hands to make it clear that I'm not casting magic.
And as you
No
follow
magic.
him, he advises you to follow him very precisely. He doesn't walk a straight path. But he doesn't also turn to the side very sharply. He seems to be purposely stepping around or behind particular trees as he moves.
He's similar to each other.
So up, left, down, left.
There.
I'll just ask, because I know if I don't ask this, we're going to get into a 2-hour combat. Is anybody not following him? Does anybody try to deviate from the path that he
No.
sets?
No.
No.
But I
This
will.
woods is bullshit. We're following him.
Zook will try his damnedest to follow, like to figure out what the path is along the way, but I'm gonna guess that's impossible.
Roll a nature check first. DC 15.
I was gonna ask, is there anything marking those trees? Like, are they different types of trees?
There is not, no.
Oh, that'll be a 14 with my abilities, but that's all I got.
That's what the nature check was for, to see if Zook can figure out these trees. After that, he was going to make an investigation check, but he failed the nature check, so no. It looks like he's moving back and forth between random trees. Like he goes out of the way to circle around the right side of a particular tree, then zigs back around to the left side of a particular tree. And the path is short, maybe only 10-15 minutes, before you start seeing the figures of more of these giants in the colored rags and bearing the great clubs begin to appear, standing and watching the procession pass. And then Eldove, wall of fire, just making sure.
It'll come up eventually, man.
It will, okay.
Rush me. Can't wall of fire while people are watching me.
Tarin. Do we have Tarin?
Hey,
No,
he
he
said
said
BRB in mumble
Oh,
a
he said
minute ago.
bird. All right, well
He
then,
said perb.
not Tarin.
Turns dead. Ah.
I don't know if this particular map will be
Tarin
good or
isn't
not.
here right now, so he disappears from reality, and everyone's very confused.
Yeah,
Do we have someone in that cage?
He
I'm gonna
morphed
BRB
into an
there.
onion.
You guys think?
Because I didn't want to walk in there with flashbang grenades and everything else in my pack. I just handed my bag to Arik, basically. Put my daggers in it.
More and more of these giants appear as you walk, and eventually 3 of them approach you with great clubs. One of them holds his great club out towards you all, and the one you've been following, the one in white, stops. They exchange words in Gnomish. One of the guards asks if they've brought Zook, and the one in white responds, "Indeed I have. I was able to get them to come peacefully."
Zook waves. He tries to appear affable.
Arik, how are you
Here.
holding Zook's pack?
Nothing special. I'm assuming I'm just holding it in like a bag.
The lead guard points the great club over to it, asks the one in white, says, "Is that the gnome's pack?" One in white robes turns around, looks back, says, "Indeed it is." And the guards start walking towards Arik. I guess we should probably spawn these in, because Eric's about to throw fire bolts around, and...
Oh, I kept the necklace
Fireballs.
separate.
So you concealed the necklace, but not the pack.
Yeah. Since that seems like an object of value.
A necklace is generally more concealable than a pack.
Yeah.
All right, the three of them, you're coming in from the left over here.
Mm-hmm.
So you would be behind this guy in white. You'd all be over here on the edge somewhere.
Are you leading me in front, or am I behind him?
You can be wherever you want to be in relation to him. As long as you don't try to scamper away into the woods, I don't think there will be any throwdown. So you're standing next to him?
I'm gonna say I was walking side by side with him. I'm trying to look as non-threatening as possible.
Okay.
And by standing next to a 9-foot-tall giant with unarmed and just waving at people.
Where's Khalil and Eldove standing in this relation?
It'll be near the back.
Okay. So this is the one here, conversing with the one in white robes. He asks if that is the gnome's pack, and when he says yes it is, these two begin to move over towards Arik.
I open the pack and I show them all the things that are inside.
One of them reaches
Like,
out and holds out his hand and says something in Gnomish that Zook understands to be handed over.
I sigh, roll my eyes, and comply.
And he grabs the pack, thrusts it back at the giant behind him. Then they move in towards Zook.
Next to me, okay.
The one in white turns, holds his hand out to them, and they both stop right when they get within a couple feet of you. He looks down and he says in common, he says, they're going to take you to a cage, but they dare not harm you before the tribunal. He says, if you go quietly, they'll return Captain Tarin.
And Zook just kind of nods and looks at the guys and says, in Gnomish, come in peacefully.
And one of them reaches down and lifts you up off the ground with his large hands. He puts you in a grapple. Do you resist this in any way?
Does it hurt, or is he just picking me up?
You can't move without some real struggle. But right now he's just picking you up.
Okay, as long as he's not hurting me, I let him take me.
Okay.
Ain't being little right now.
He gets carried
Coup
off.
de grace you. You're dead.
He carries Zook off into the forest, and that's the last any of you ever see of Zook.
Yay!
Zook is no more.
All right, so look up halfling bards.
The other two guards begin walking back into the clearing. And this is the stone circle you see at the far side of the clearing. Bones jutting up out of the ground ominously. This is actually from some game, but I forget what the game is called.
Looks kind of like looks like an Infinite Engine thing.
It kind of does. What's that new one called? I think that's the one that was...
Builders of Return to
Yes,
Torment?
that's it. Oh, Tarin's back.
It's not
Hi,
gonna-
Tarin.
It's not that because it's not polygonal.
Tarin,
Yes.
after a couple of hours swinging back and forth in this cage, a couple of guards approach. And one of them has Zook bound in his arms above him. The guards next to you see him coming, and they hurry back behind the tree that you're dangling from. And you feel the cage begin to be lowered, brutishly to the ground. Not enough to do any damage, but enough to get the sense that they don't particularly care about your well-being.
Rattling his teeth, basically.
Very rude.
One of them comes over, puts a crude lock in a mechanism on the bottom of the cage, and some of the bars swing downward.
I'll say into Zook's mind, you're alright with this? Good to see you're in one piece.
And I say back to him over the mine lake, so far so good. The one in white claims he can get us out of this. And I also add the others are going to be at the tribunal, unarmed, but you know.
When Tarin makes no
I'll,
motion, one of the guards reaches into the cage to grab him.
Oh yeah, I'll come out of the cage as Zook is brought toward.
And Zook is brought forward. in the arms of this giant, thrown down to the floor of the cage, and they immediately throw the bars back up. One of them leels down with his crude key, locks it back up, goes behind the tree, and after a few moments it begins hoisted back up in the air.
Kind of lays down in his cage.
And the guards turn around and start walking away.
Am I left all alone?
The 2 new guards, the 4 that were already there, don't go anywhere. You're left alone except for those 4 guards and Tarin, if Tarin decides not to go.
Did they tell me which way I should go, or did they say anything to me at all?
They don't believe they can converse with you.
Zook, should I go find the others?
The others are
Over the
around.
mine,
I don't see any reason why not.
Alright. I'll just head in whatever direction they brought Zook from.
And if you follow the 2 guards back, they take them back into this clearing where the rest of the group is.
About to see you're all in one piece. You don't happen to have my pants, do you?
I think Zook had those.
I'll toss. I'll toss. I'll toss Tarin his pack with all of his stuff in it.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll get dressed.
I mean,
Look
he had
back
stuff
on my
that won't
match.
fit in the pack. He's got armor and stuff that was taken off.
Khalil would have gathered all that shit up too, and packed that away.
I'll just tell them. I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Before this whole deal with the giants happened, before the ghost bears, were you helping the party to subsist by hunting?
I mean, probably. I mean, at this point, I spent
As
the
I-
last year hunting game, so I imagine I would have been shooting squirrels that I weren't trying to talk to.
I recall
That's
that he,
still
that
really
he was.
fucked.
I remember that he was.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like-
no, I would have been shooting deer, shooting.
I think I think it was
games.
mentioned even.
Zook,
Yeah.
up in your cage, hanging there for a few moments, a guard comes and starts poking the side of it with his club. Tells you to disrobe. Throw the cloak down, the armor, the boots, gloves, hair ties, eyebrow ring, whatever you're wearing.
I don't think I have an eyebrow ring, but Zook complies. Am I allowed to keep my skivvies?
Yeah, nobody wants to see your junk.
All right. So Zook strips down to his, I'm assuming, very modest cloth underwear.
I'm assuming he's wearing Ninja Turtle underwear.
And he's still got a bigger dingle dangle than Eldove.
That's true. Like,
Well,
way
Zook
bigger.
is 4 feet tall, and that's like half dingle dangle.
And the guard collects up the cloak, the armor, boots, carries them off. Now, the guards that you're left with, they're not as silent as they were with Tarin. They taunt you. They tell you in great detail what's going to happen after the tribunal. They seem to take great joy in describing your painful torture and death.
Zook will try to communicate back with them just as much as possible while trying to stay affable. He'll say, when they bring up his execution, he'll say, "I haven't even been trial yet. Why would you assume I'm going to be executed?"
The response is, what's the point of a tribunal if not to execute the guilty?
I don't think you know how tribunals work. It's to figure out what really happened.
Sounds like Zook doesn't know how tribunals work.
You're met with laughter at that. Not like
Yeah.
like unkind laughter. Not like hideously unkind like Nodal's was just there. Not like sarcastically horrible unkind. More of just like a lack of interest in your well-being unkind.
I ask if they've executed, and I use air quotes, executed many other gnomes for these crimes.
One of them says, "My father saw one such execution." He says it very proudly.
And when was this?
He shakes his head. Many, many moons ago. It's been far too long. And you continue to poke your cage with your great clubs. Cage swaying back and forth, knocking you around a little bit.
Luke says, "And when did these crimes I was supposed to have committed taken place?"
And you're not given a specific answer. But you get the sense that long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. Like, you're not giving a specific answer as to something Zook has done in particular.
Right.
I mean, you definitely get the sense that they're just not a fan of gnomes.
Right. Fair enough. You guys want to kill me just because I'm a gnome, not because of anything you believed I or any other gnome did.
That's not for us to decide. That's for the tribunal to decide.
Fair enough. But, or, not really, but you know what I mean.
Unfair enough.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut your head off. Guys, friendship.
Barnabas tells the rest of the group that the tribunal will convene tomorrow morning, that he has to leave and make preparations.
Are you the prosecutor?
He says, I have no official role in the proceedings.
Does Zook get a lawyer? I don't know how law and order works. And, like, can we find Sam Waterston? Do we need to get him? Like,
Can we? Do we know the charges and where the crime was supposed to have taken
charges
place?
are being a gnome in public.
Damn dirty launchy Waterston.
You're all conversing in common, I assume, with Barnabas.
Yes.
Okay. And as you're doing so, he's making no effort to hide that he's conversing with you, but many of the other giants who are wandering around the area, coming in and out of the clearing, look suspiciously at him with the group, but none of them make a move against you. He says that each of you will be allowed to speak in turn on Zook's behalf, and it behooves you to speak for as long as you can. He says the tribunal will begin tomorrow morning. There will be a feast for the moon mug at midday, going on long into the night. He says if any are sober enough tomorrow morning, or the morning after, they will reconvene again. He says that will be the day where you all will be called up. Each of you must speak on Zook's behalf in turn. If we can get the tribunal to spill over into a third day beyond that, he says, I believe everybody will be safe, including Zook. And you will have no more to fear for the moon mug for your duration of your stay in these wood.
Why are you helping us?
He says, of the many, many charges that they will lay against your companion, the largest they will call grievances ancient and unanswered for. He says, I don't believe there is any benefit to holding charges grievous or unanswered for. I'm sorry, ancient or unanswered for. These are stories from long before any of the Moon Mug now are alive, before any of our fathers were alive. They go back to time immemorial, 3 generations of elves. He says it's time to move on from it. He says the violence doesn't befit a society of our stature. And he stands up at this point. He's still got the bundle of weapons under his arm. He says there's more to it than that. We'll have to discuss it after the tribunal. For now, I have to go make preparations. I trust you will all remain safe as long as you don't... As long as you don't raise arms against any of the Moon Mug. They've been given orders to leave you be.
When is the trial? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, it'll begin.
Where are we supposed to stay until then?
You ask him?
Yeah.
And he waves his arm over at the clearing.
Are we allowed to speak to Zook before that? Would it go poorly if I were to attempt to, if I were to walk over there?
He says he would guard against it, or he would advise against it. But if you choose your words very carefully, you might be able to get a message through. He describes the first day of the tribunal as being mostly formalities, readings of charges. He says there will be much merriment and celebration among the Moon Mug, and that will eventually devolve into a feast. The actual hearing of witnesses will not begin until the second day.
So, can we back up for just one moment, please?
Sure.
This is that's Khalil actually saying this. How do these people know about Zook?
You ask Barnabas this?
Yes.
Shakes his head. Says he's a forest gnome walking through a wood through Moonmug territory. One of the Kenku must have heard one of you speak his name. More than that, they wouldn't know.
Khalil rolls his eyes.
Do you guys need anything else from Barnabas before he leaves?
Nope.
And
I got nothing.
he walks off with your weapons between the trees. What do the rest of you do in the clearing for the rest of the day?
The amount of trouble we get into like this, I really should have finished my law school.
Khalil punches a tree.
So the plan is we wait for them to get drunk and then we bring Zook out? We're not actually going through with this trial thing, right?
I mean, I can get Zook out anytime I can see him. It's just a question of, I don't know. I mean, the one in the white robe seems to at least be reasonably trustworthy, right?
Well, we really have no choice but to, if that's the case, because he's got our stuff and, they got Zook in custody.
Is my spell component pouch among the stuff that Khalil gave me?
Oh yeah, all your equipment. They had no interest in your equipment.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you guys this over the mind, like I won't even say it in comment. I mean, I can literally get Zook out with an action if I need to. I think we kind of let things play out and see if we can stretch it to a third day.
Tell you what, I don't think we'll be confused about which way to go if I burn us a clear path in front of us.
Just move away from the pillar of smoke.
I don't think that's a good idea. Because we still have to get out of this forest.